Hello, welcome to CBC Weekly Talk with Anastasia Lavrina. Pakistan on Tuesday strongly condemned an Iranian airstrike inside its borders, calling it an unprovoked violation of its airspace and warning of retaliation. According to the Iranian side, it used precision missile and drone strikes to destroy two strongholds of the Sunni militant group. U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said on Tuesday that persistent attacks on ships in the Red Sea by Houthi rebels is a crisis that the whole world needs to respond to. His message came on the same day the U.S. struck the Houthis in Yemen for the third time in 5 days. What does the worsening relations between Iran and Pakistan mean for the full region? Will a big war begin in the Middle East? All details in my program now. Joining me from the United States is Alper Coşkun, former ambassador of Turkey to Azerbaijan, and from Pakistan, Khalid Taimur Akram, Executive Director, Research Center for a Community with Shared Future. Dear experts, welcome to CBC Weekly Talk. Thank you so much, Mr. Coşkun. If you don't mind, we will start with you. The key question, what is the current U.S. role in the regional political picture in the Middle East?
I think the example that you gave with the recent attacks by Iran on Pakistan are simply a fallout effect of what we are seeing in the Middle East, which is basically an unraveling security paradigm with a lot of different dynamics. After the attack of Hamas on Israel on the 7th of October, I think most analysts were worried and experts were worried about a potential conflagration of the conflict in the region and its potential expansion. We are slowly seeing this unfold. There were activities by various proxies of different actors in the region, and I think the latest attack by Iran is probably the most heightened manifestation of the potential for this conflict to expand beyond the limits of the narrow Middle East.
Mr. Akram, Pakistan's foreign ministry warned Iran of serious consequences. What kind of consequences can we talk about?
First of all, I strongly condemn the Iranian attack on the Pakistani soil. In this attack, in this missile attack, there were two innocent girls, young girls. They were killed. They were civilians. These attacks are provocation, and it is like attacking the sovereignty of Pakistan. Pakistan government has not only condemned this attack, but Pakistan has recalled its ambassador from Iran back, and the Iranian ambassador who had gone to Iran has been told not to come back to Pakistan. Pakistan government has given a very clear message to Iran that such kind of actions will not be tolerated. We have seen in the past also, there have been many instances from the Iranian side where their border security guards have been firing on the Pakistani border security guards without any reason. In Balochistan, there are no imminent threat to Iran, and I am very much surprised by the statement of the Iranian foreign minister, which he just gave half an hour back in Davos, in which he said that Iran had, in Pakistan, they have attacked the Israeli agents in Balochistan. So, well, this is absolutely absurd. There is no Israeli base in Balochistan. Pakistan and Israel even does not have any kind of diplomatic or any kind of relationship. And only two small girls are killed in that attack. So from Pakistan's side, Pakistan is very clear that Pakistan will not tolerate any kind of provocation, and Pakistan will reply any sort of attack on its soil.
Mr. Coşkun, your personal opinion, what U.S. actions do you think will be most effective and ineffective in this situation?
It's difficult to gauge that from this point in time, but I think the most damaging effects of the U.S. policy towards the region recently has been the inconsistency in its upholding of international rule of law and its references to the global order, particularly in the context of Ukraine, for example, whereas it has not been doing the same in the context of the Israeli attacks on Gaza and on the civilian population. The degree of destruction and humanitarian suffering that is unfolding in Gaza has really reached unspeakable proportions. And the fact that the United States stands against any humanitarian pauses or any efforts to alleviate the suffering of the civilian Palestinians at the hands of the Israeli attacks in Gaza through its role in the United Nations Security Council is, I think, undermining the expectation that the United States could really have any positive role in this respect. So this image of double standards, if you will, is something that is really eroding the belief that the United States could actually be a benign and useful actor in resolving this very tragic development, which did, and we should put that on record, also start very much with the Hamas attacks on Israel. But of course, there is a very deep backstory as far as the suffering of the Palestinians and the continuing occupation and settlements that have really affected and undermined the potential to have lasting peace in the region.
One more question to you, Mr. Joshkun. Does it mean that the United States is willing also to reinforce the military assets in the Middle East? Because previously we saw, especially when it was the term of Donald Trump, the United States was willing to leave the Middle East and actually did. But now it seems that the United States is coming back to the Middle East region.
I think the United States has been posturing since the Hamas attack in an attempt to prevent proxies from ganging up, if you will, against Israel. That on the part of Washington was an attempt to prevent an escalation by actually escalating itself and by deterring other actors from stepping into the fold. But I don't think that policy has been successful, as we are seeing slowly by the increasing number of attacks. We've seen these by the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea affecting commercial shipping. We've seen the Iranian attacks not only on Pakistan, and I express my deepest regret for the loss of life that our Pakistani colleague mentioned there. But it's also attacked a target in Iraq recently. So the attempt to prevent escalation on the part of the United States has basically failed. In the Trump era, the United States was very much focused on the rise of China. But I think two geopolitical developments, one is the Russian attack on Ukraine, and the second is these developments in the Middle East, have basically reminded the United States that you just simply cannot walk away from geopolitical realities, either in the Euro-Atlantic space or in the Middle East.
Mr. Akram, what does the worsening relations between Iran and Pakistan mean for the region of the Middle East?
Yes, the worsening relationship between Pakistan and Iran will be detrimental for the region, because Pakistan has always been trying to mediate between Iran and the other countries. As we know that Iran is under a lot of sanctions. Iran is under a lot of US sanctions, and Iran relationship with other Middle Eastern countries has never been good. Pakistan has always been trying to mediate between them, and Pakistan has always been trying to help Iran in mending their relationship. But now, if Iran does all these things, and we have seen in the past, even with Azerbaijan, we have seen that there was an attack in the Azerbaijani embassy in Iran. And as we know that Pakistan, Iran, Pakistan, Azerbaijan, and Turkey, they have got into a strategic military partnership with each other, and which I think is also not liked by the Iranians. And this kind of attack on the Pakistani soil is non-tolerable, and it can escalate the situation. But at the same time, the government of Pakistan and the Pakistani military, they have shown a lot of restraint, and they have approached the Iranian government for an explanation. But till now, there is no explanation from the Iranian government. Rather, now the Iranian foreign minister is trying to blame Pakistan, that Pakistan is like harboring some kind of Israeli agents, which is totally absurd. And I personally, and on behalf of the Pakistani nation, would like to call upon the Iranian public and Iranian nation that they should have some sense, and they should tell their government that not to spoil their relationship with the brotherly country of Pakistan. But these kinds of attacks, I would again say, are not tolerable by the people of Pakistan. And now there is a lot of resentment and there is a lot of negative feelings towards Iran.
Mr. Joshkun, given the current tension in the Middle East, can it be said that Iran and the United States are trying to avoid the direct military clash?
I think that's been the case for a while now. The United States has made it very clear, also through open statements, that it is not seeking a direct kinetic confrontation with Iran. I would assume it's the same for the Iranians. But of course, as we see these types of proxy developments, the risk for it to unfold and for unexpected developments to take place are always there. So whereas the strategic calculation, I believe, both in Tehran and in Washington is to prevent a direct confrontation, the risk of that is still there and is increasingly evident.
Mr. Akram, what is the current situation in your country, in Pakistan, when we speak about the Middle East situation and overall the escalations and the possibility for the big war? What is the government of Pakistan preparing for?
Yes, number one, as far as the Gaza and Palestine is concerned, Pakistan and people of Pakistan and the government of Pakistan is standing with the Palestinian people, and we strongly condemn that. Last Sunday, we have seen very big, Saturday and Sunday, which has just passed, we have seen very big rallies in support of the Palestinian people. Pakistan no way wants to become party to whatever is going in Red Sea and whatever is going in the region, because Pakistan is working for a peaceful resolution of all the issues and all the problems. Pakistan is not siding with any kind of activities, even in the Red Sea, which are happening. But at the same time, Pakistan is strongly condemning any kind of terrorist acts anywhere in the region. Because we are the major sufferers of terrorism in last 20 years. Pakistani government and Pakistani soldiers and Pakistani public, we have given 80,000 lives in this war against terrorism. And Pakistan strongly condemns terrorism in any shape, anywhere in the world, whether it is from the Iranian side or any other side. I strongly feel that the present situation is very, very delicate, and this is the time that the regional organizations like Shanghai Cooperation Organization and other regional organizations should sit together and try to mediate between various countries. But at the same time, keeping in view whatever Iran has been doing in the past, I doubt that the Iranians will have this courage to sit with any kind of partners.
Mr. Joshkun, how do security and defense aspects impact interactions between the United States of America and Turkey?
That's become a very fraught topic because of the fact that Turkey is under U.S. sanctions. Obviously, there's an ongoing expectation on the part of the Turkish government to acquire the F-16s that it has sought to purchase from the United States. That has become intertwined with Sweden's desire to join NATO, Turkey's objections to that, which initially was in reference to Turkey's expectations from Sweden, but has increasingly evolved into something between Ankara and Washington, D.C., and the F-16 deal. So in terms of defense industry cooperation, it is a very fraught topic. Nevertheless, Turkey and the United States continue their governmental engagement on all issues, including on defense cooperation. The Turkish Minister of Defense was in the United States towards the end of last year. So there is these ongoing lines of communication. But at the end of the day, when you look at the depth of the cooperation and the spirit that is dominant in terms of the bilateral relationship between Turkey and the United States, it is far from being perfect. And I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I think both Ankara and Washington have not been investing enough in the relationship, and that continues to be the case.
Another question, how can the situation and the events in the Middle East also affect the situation in the South Caucasus, if it can?
Inevitably, of course, regional configurations of this nature undermine security and stability in the region at large. So in that sense, whereas there may not be a direct effect in that sense, I think the building tension in the region is something that inevitably has an impact on the Southern Caucasus. If anything, it takes away the focus on a real opportunity for peace in the Southern Caucasus after Azerbaijan was able to restore its territorial integrity. I think there were some important developments in terms of the meetings between the Azerbaijani and Armenian leadership, where a path for a peaceful future was laid down. Nevertheless, there are a lot of details, and that's where I think most of the challenges are. To the extent that there are other pressing issues and kinetic action in the Middle East, or in terms of these attacks that Iran is undertaking, I think it takes away from the focus on the real potential to build a positive, that is, development in the region. And I think the highest potential for that now is in the Southern Caucasus, between Azerbaijan and Armenia, also with the inclusion of Turkey, connectivity project, and there are a lot of other potential areas of cooperation where there could be progress. But I'm afraid I don't think that the bandwidth either in the United States or in the European Union is large enough to focus enough on these issues to provide a positive dynamic.
Mr. Josh Kunen, the last question to you about the position of the United States towards Gaza and Israel. Do you expect any changes in its position, in the position of Washington in the upcoming days, especially because the United States are talking more about the establishment of a Palestinian state as one of the key solutions to resolve the situation and to diminish the level of escalation?
Yes, since the 7th of October, the Secretary of State of the United States has had to travel to the region 4 times. I say had to because this was not out of choice, but out of obligation. And it was a striking spark of interest on the part of the United States. We were speaking about the fact that the U.S. focus was more on the rise of China, but these developments have inevitably pulled the United States' focus back on the Middle East. And I think, if anything, the positive outcome of the tragedy that is unfolding in the Middle East is that there's an increasing recognition in the world that unless the Palestinian problem and the expectations of the Palestinian people to live in dignity in their own territories as a separate, independent state in peace next to Israel is realized, then there can be no such peace in the Middle East. So that recognition in itself is something positive. But to the extent that the international community and the United States in this sense is absolutely committed to realizing that on an equal footing between Israel and Palestine, that is where I think the real challenge is. But I do believe that the international community's conscience is increasingly supporting the idea of a two-state solution. So that in itself may be the silver lining in the tragedy that we are seeing unfold in Gaza nowadays.
Right, Mr. Akram, and the last question to you as well. Is there a real possibility of a wider war in the Middle East? Because many experts are trying to have some analysis at the moment to realize what we should expect from the war in Gaza and overall in the situation in the Middle East.
Yes, I think that if the international powers and if the international community does not sit together, then there is a possibility of war. There is a possibility that this war will be not only extended to Middle East, but other part of the world, because we have also seen that in the Red Sea, a lot of international trade is stopped because the Houthis are attacking the trade routes. And whatever provocation the Iranians have started, of course, Iraq and Syria and Pakistan, if they retaliate to the Iranian provocation, then it may, the world may go towards a larger scale war. But I think the sense is prevailing. Even the Iraqi government and Syrian government and Pakistani government, they are showing restraint. But if the Iranians are not stopped, then yes, there is a possibility that the situation may escalate and the world will be pushed towards a greater war.
Dear experts, I thank you for joining CBC Weekly Talk today. Thank you. Just to remind you, watch CBC Weekly Talk with Anastasia Lavrina. Stay with us and see you in the next edition.